All right, welcome back to Mind Over Emotions, the podcast. I'm your host, Herc. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Mind Over Emotions, the podcast. Follow us on TikTok under the same handle. If you want to come be on the podcast, shoot me an email to mindoveremotionsthe podcast@gmail.com. Or you can shoot me a text message to the podcast number, 702-525-6118. All right, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on here.
Do me a favor. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ryan. I'm 39. I got 4 kids. A 17-year-old, 2 10-year-olds, and a 6-year-old from Tacoma, Washington.
Okay. You single?
And I'm single.
All right. Okay, first, before we get into you, are the 2 10-year-olds twins?
No, they're 7 months apart from 2 different women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How does that?
It's fine. We make it work. Currently, my 10-year-old and my 6-year-old are from my marriage that we ended, and we get along great. And then my 17-year-old from my first kid. That was my first kid, and we get along great. Me and the mom gets along great, and
Well, look, we get into this early, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it before we. So you said that the 10-year-old and the 6-year-old was from your wife, your ex-wife?
Yes, yeah, my ex-wife, yeah.
So that means that the other 10-year-old was from you stepping out?
No.
Okay.
No, so me and me and my kid's mom, the one I was married to, my ex-wife, we was never married until after we have our second kid.
Ah, gotcha.
So it was I had gotten out of prison and got with this girl, and she ended up getting pregnant, and we wasn't going to be together. And then I ended up getting with one of my best friend's sisters, and she was like the love of my life, and we were, building a family and doing all that. We ended up buying a house together, and then drugs and alcohol kind of took that relationship away, and then after I ended that, I ended up getting back with my kid's mom, who was my current.
So basically the other one, she was already pregnant before you even met your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Growing up, did you have your mom and your dad in your same house with you?
No, I didn't. No. So, my mom was a single mom. My father was an addict, and he was addicted to heroin. He ended up in and out of prison my whole life. He ended up ODing when I was in first grade, and so my mom raised me, and she was like my mom, my dad, and everything. She ended up contracting AIDS. She was also an addict as well. So she contracted AIDS when I was 2 years old, and she was selling drugs my whole life. I lived in I say it was a put together trap house. It wasn't dirty at all. It was always clean. We always had food. I always had everything we ever needed. But yeah, so she definitely was selling drugs my whole life, and at the age of like 12, she was having me selling weed for her. She would leave weed at the house and in a certain place, and then people would just stop by as I was watching cartoons or hanging out at the house, and yeah.
As a 12-year-old selling weed or drugs or whatever to an adult, right? How did you feel doing that?
I guess I didn't really think about how it made me feel, because it was so normal to me. That was the lifestyle that I was raised in since I was a kid, and so it didn't seem, I never put no thought into it,
But sitting here now, thinking about because obviously you're grown now, that lifestyle is not the right lifestyle to live.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can say the right, but it's not what most people would say I will want to live, right?
Right.
Do you find would you take anything away? Like, would you do anything different if you could go back to it?
No, man, and this is a question that gets brought up, in recovery a lot, or like people want to ask. And, I don't live in regret. I don't regret anything that ever happened to me in my childhood, because it made me the person I am today. It made me strong. It made me resilient. And, I used to think all that pain and all those things that I went through was always going to be something that I utilized to damage and hurt other people in my life, And recovery taught me that all of that stuff is a tool to be able to help other people. And have people that hasn't been through everything that I've been through, I can utilize as a tool to like relate with them, And so, yeah, it was a freeing feeling when I actually realized that like I can use all of the trauma and all the pain that I went through to be able to help other people, and gave me a purpose.
And I'll say this, man, that's like the whole premise of this podcast, man. So I
Right.
appreciate you coming on here and sharing it. When you were growing up, well, first, is your parents still alive?
No, my mom died due to AIDS, and then
Okay.
she ended up contracting throat cancer, and she lived with the throat cancer for quite a while until it attacked her voice box, and then she ended up getting a tracheotomy, and yeah, and then she ended up due to all the chemo and things like that, it ended up making her throat swell up, and so she couldn't swallow and things like that. So they went and put a stent in her throat, and it poked a hole. One of the newer doctors, he was younger, put one of the pins, in the front, and it poked a hole above her trach. So every time she drank something, it would leak
Leak
out.
out.
And so then it ended up causing an infection in her spine, and she couldn't get rid of the infection in her spine until she had the surgery, and she couldn't have a surgery until she got rid of the infection. So it was kind of a
Seesaw.
yeah, it
Holy
was
crap.
rough to watch. It definitely was rough to watch. I was actually in active addiction at that point, and so it was still really hard to deal with. But I also was able to numb it and to suppress it in negative ways. And yeah, after she passed, I definitely went off the handles. It was definitely death or prison, and by the grace of God, I went to prison. And yeah, so I was able to.
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean this in like a negative way, but I'm gonna be honest. I've made this joke forever, right? About how like people who you see them on the streets. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really feel sorry for people like that because we all went through dare, right?
Hmm.
But it's just a joke. Like I understand that sometimes like it's an addiction. Like addictions be
Oh
real,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And some people have addictive personalities to where, you know, they might just start off smoking weed, and
Hmm.
then, from what I've heard, is that for most addicts, is what happens is they get that initial high, and they're just trying to keep chasing that same high, and
Yeah.
so that's why they're so willing to try something different, especially if they see other people take it and they've got like these like in person reviews, like, oh man, I felt I OD'd. And that's the weirdest thing is
Yeah.
they want the drugs that somebody OD'd off of.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
as an addict,
They
why
want
is
the
that?
good stuff.
That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
and if that,
yeah,
that's
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, well, because it's stronger, it's more potent. Because when I mean, it just goes for smoking weed, right? There was a time when I could hit, a bowl of weed, and I would be stoned out of my mind, and it was good, and I just eat a bunch of cereal, watch a bunch of TV, and just veg out. And then eventually it became where that no longer worked, where I was having to smoke blunts, and then I'm having to take dabs, you know what I mean? And then, and it still never got me to the point of when it first started,
yeah.
you know?
What was what was it like? Or what was your first drug that you took besides weed?
Well, at 10 years old, I started smoking weed, and then drinking came along, but then smoking weed was like was my main focus for sure. Um, I used to play sports and love sports all the way, played Pee Wee football. I mean, I was grateful that I had a good childhood, as in, like, we had a community of kids in my neighborhood in the north end of Tacoma that, I mean, there was times where we would just spread out. It was a sandlot. We'd spread out. You go get this person, you go get this person. We'd come back and we'd have full on football teams,
Yeah.
And so we were always playing schoolyard pickup games. And then eventually, the smoking weed, and the drugs, obviously definitely became priority, especially when I hit like high school mainly, you know.
But seeing how your parents were, right? Your mom selling drugs, and then your dad being addicted to heroin and stuff like that, and both of them ODing.
Hmm.
It never crossed your mind like to not do it.
Uh, you know, yeah, of course. I think that definitely crossed my mind at times. Maybe it didn't. No, it really didn't. I hated the lifestyle. I hated the people. And I felt like on scene. Like I wanted my mom. She was in and out of the hospital a lot, but I wanted my mom to be able to like come see me play sports and things like that. But she was never really involved in none of that. It was like my best friend Bobby's parents would come to the games, or my best friend Bo's mom would come to the games, and like I'd see all these other kids' parents coming to support them, and their when they're playing sports and stuff like that, and I never had that. And so, yeah, I hated what the lifestyle did, and like the lifestyle of it. But I guess at some point, Yeah, no, I guess I never really thought about not doing it. I just never thought that it was gonna end up going down the road and going as extreme as it did. For sure.
What was your drug of choice besides weed?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was weed, alcohol, and then eventually it became pills. I was born on methadone, so my mom was when she had me, she ended up getting on the methadone program, which is a alternative to heroin. So what it is a government controlled heroin. It's a way that they can go and pick it up from the methadone clinic, and so it's a liquid form, and they would end up drinking it, and it would keep them from getting dope sick. And so uh, all it is a way for the government to be able to control it instead of people going out there and using needles and shooting heroin. And so anyway, so I was born on methadone, and so when I was born, I automatically went through withdrawals. And so uh, when it came to opiates, I was super susceptible to addictive personality. And so when I started taking pills around teenage years, later teens, yeah, it was just I loved it. It was just became my thing. At first it was just taking pills and smoking weed and playing videos, playing Madden, with my friends, and then eventually all my friends, was able to stop, and then I just kept going because I enjoyed it. And then obviously I was selling drugs at the time, since teenage years, and eventually pills turned into meth. I'd gotten clean. So my first time going to treatment was when I was 14. I went to Raymond Hall, inpatient, due to because I was on probation and got caught with weed at school, and so then I went to inpatient. So I quit. So I tried to quit doing that then, and then when I started doing the pills, then I got clean off of those again, and then I ended up finding meth. And I had gotten a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, clean, and I was doing meetings, going through Alcoholics Anonymous, and was doing really good. And then I got to like 120 days, and then he introduced me to meth, and then it was off and running from there, for quite a few years, and then that turned into heroin, and then that turned into fentanyl and meth.
Because I've never done no drugs. I'm just curious. Out of fentanyl, heroin, meth, I'm not even gonna include weed in there. Out of those drugs, which one was like probably like the scariest? Like the scariest highs, like where you was.
Well, I mean, obviously fentanyl is going to be take that all day. I mean, it's I've always had a very high tolerance to most drugs, and so but yeah, fentanyl. I mean, there's been multiple occasions where I've had to, give Narcan to people, to friends, perform CPR on them, because they're dying, ODing, throw them in showers. I mean, do whatever I can, because I created a relationship with these people in the dope game, like, and yeah, and so like yeah, I mean, we've been through some stuff, and so like yeah, so there's a connection, and so like yeah, people ODing is a scary thing, and seeing people that you love and that you care for ODing, whether no matter what world you're in.
That's what I think. That's what kind of like throws me off because it's like you're in the game, you're doing the drugs, and then one of your buddies who's close to you who care about ODs, and then you got either save them, or they pass away, right?
Yeah.
But nothing after that. It never says like you never go through a phase or anything like a thought process where it's like, man, like so and so just OD'd, man. I'm about to. I need to get clean. I need to do this and actually truly pursue it. Nothing ever happens like that.
And I think that does happen for a lot of people. I think there's a scare factor, for sure, for a lot of people that happens too. I think because of my pain tolerance from living such a violent lifestyle as a kid, seeing my mom, it was a lot of DVs. My stepdad was really violent and drunk, and he sold guns and did all kinds of things, and he was really violent. And so like violence and trauma and like chaos was like what I was used to. Yeah. And so when those things happened, I was able to remain calm, and like it was normal to me. It wasn't a scare factor to me. Yeah. What's the craziest thing about it is I tell people in recovery, or like people that ask about addiction or anything like that, is like the biggest thing with an addict is that the scariest thing for me is when I had peace. When I first got clean, I didn't know how to accept sitting and watching TV and going to the same job, or having the same girlfriend, or having the same car payment. Like that was more uncomfortable to me than going through the dope game and like the highs and the ups and downs, the robberies, the, you know what I mean, the thieving, any of that was normal.
Yeah.
But paying the same bill, living in the same place, having the same girlfriend, that seemed boring and harder for me than anything.
Boring. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was more uncomfortable for somebody like me.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, so the scare factor, I guess, yeah, I mean, it was scary, and it always crossed my mind to want to get clean, and I knew I had way more potential than just being out in the dope game, you know, and, you know, one of the things that we say, man, is that, like, you know, you'll be done when the pain is bad enough, you know, you'll do something about it, you know, and it wasn't the financial bottoms, the physical bottoms, you know what I mean, any of those was nothing. That's normal, that's what we chase, you know.
Yeah.
But it was the emotional bottom, the spiritual bottom that like got me eventually, that always gets me clean. It's not the going to jail, it's not the going to treatment, it's not the getting caught or somebody dying or getting shot at, you know. It's that emotional, that spiritual break that I have where I'm just so sick of my own life, you know, that it's where I want to die or I want to go to prison again instead of like trying to get clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's more scary to me, you know.
I can see that though. I can see that. What kind of like advice would you give to like say like somebody like me? Like let's just say I have a friend or a family member who's an addict, or you know, what advice would you give to me to be like a support to them?
Well, I think every situation and every single person is different, you know. I mean, are they willing to accept help? Are they asking for help? You know, and are you in a position to help? You know, the three whys of like helping somebody, you know, like otherwise we're imposing our self-will, right? And we're going to be less helpful to somebody than trying to be helpful. You know, an addict is going to keep going until he's ready to quit or he asks for help.
Yeah.
You know, and that's most of the time there's a very small window when somebody asks for help that they really want to help. You know, so if they can't, and that's what's messed up with the system, right? And really hard. And I think that not only is addiction such a is so big right now, and like we have so much homeless, but it's also a mental health crisis, right? It's when you take away drugs and alcohol from somebody that's been doing it for so long, their whole lives, or off and on for however long it is. What do you have? You have untreated, undiagnosed mental health, right? And so like there's a very small window that is somebody is going to accept that help, you know, because we only get desperate for that help in periods, right?
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, so it is a very small window to be able to like help somebody. But I mean, the advice I would give is ask them, you know, talk to them, let them be heard. Like, what is it that you're going through? What can we do? You know, like, is there a way that we can help you? You know, and yeah, it's a really hard question. You know, it's a really hard question because everybody's different. You know.
Yeah.
Because I know how hard it is to watch somebody that you love go through addiction. You know, because I know how hard it was for my loved ones, and I know how hard it is for me to see friends that are still out there getting loaded that I have to love from a distance. You know, it's hard. You know,
I was going to ask, were the connections that you made when you were out there in the streets, were they real? Like, do you still keep in contact with these people, or do you see them, talk to them, anything like that?
I think some of them, you know, 90% of the relationships that you create out there are superficial, you know, of course, you know. And that goes for alcohol as well. You know, 90% of the relationships that I created with people that I drank with, what did I have in common with you once I quit drinking? Nothing, really. You know, I just don't. And so, yeah, 90% of them are superficial. But I guess it's a matter of perspective, right? Because, like, the way that I care about you, I can't expect you to care about me the same.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter, like, yeah, some of what I care about people in general in life. I love people. I love talking to people. I love making people laugh. I enjoy life. And so, yeah, it's hard. I'd love to see every single person that I used to get loaded with get clean, you know, and have a taste of what I have, you know.
Do you think that two people who went through that together, like who were drug addicts, got clean, do you think that they could still be healthy friends?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's almost like a trauma bond, you know what I mean? It's something that you know that what you guys overcame together, you know, and you guys can remember where you guys came from. And this is the thing, man. Yeah, it could be that you guys could be healthy friends for each other, but also you could just grow apart, you know? And that's the thing, right? In life is like everybody either grows together or you grow apart.
That's true. That's facts. The only reason why I was asking, right, is because let's just say both of us were drug addicts, right? And we were we got clean and we were friends. If I'm having a rough day, well, let's just say I got tired of being clean, right? And then because you already have the addictive personality, you've already done the drugs. Wouldn't it always be a temptation? Me, for one, just being around me would probably be a temptation. But two, now you see or you hear me talking about, getting high or the experiences I'm having while I'm high. It's gonna kind of like set you back mentally first. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, but there's also that's why they recommend that two newcomers that are just getting clean don't hang out together like that. Like that's not what you're gonna. You're trying to hang out with people that have more wisdom than you. It's somebody that has more clean time with you, right? And either you're gonna change, right? And so like I didn't have to just change. So recovery for me is no longer the drugs and alcohol. It's so much more bigger than that, right? It's emotional. It's an emotional recovery for me now. It's time for me to like level up in other ways, right? And so if somebody's around me that is new, it's my job and I owe it to them to not allow them to go off the rails about like talking about the times that we get high or the things that we used to do or the things that they want to do, right? Like it's my job as somebody that's been in recovery to try to influence you into getting a job, working on your credit, trying to do something differently, reaching out to meetings and sponsors and newcomers and trying to be around other healthy people, right? And so there was a time in recovery, and I think that's why I used to get loaded. I used to consider myself a chronic relapser. I would come into the program for a while and I would hang out, chase girls, go in there for the wrong reasons, and then I would always end up getting loaded because I didn't change the things that I talked about, the places that I used to be, and the things that I wanted. And I think that I don't know if it was Bruce Lee. I want to say it was Bruce Lee. I had seen something. He said that the power of words, is it's like the power of words where everything starts. And if the things you talk about are the things you're going to become. And if I constantly talked about like what I used to do and the all the things I used to jack or the places I used to, be, well, then that's all I'm going to remember.
Yeah. And it's going to shape who you start to become.
Yeah.
You'll start going backwards. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I used to say all the time, like, I think I forget where I read this at. It's years ago, but it was like, you could tell what a person's truly about by what they do when they first wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, if you get on social media, as a guy, you get on social media, you start scrolling, looking at girls and stuff like that. That's probably your main priority as women, like, or, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but what else are you as a man or as a functioning human?
Yeah.
And even it can become addictive even with like, think about like fitness, right? Like, I feel like if fitness isn't paying you, then it shouldn't be what fully encompasses you. You know what I mean? And the only reason I say that is because you're taking away like a lot. I went through a phase for me, like I went through a phase where like I would not work any extra hours because I'm like, no, it's cutting into my gym time.
Mm-hmm.
But the gym doesn't pay me.
Right.
I could have stayed and sacrificed something else in my life and still got the gym done and still made that extra money. But you go through this, like for me, like I went through a point where I was really truly addicted to the gym.
Yeah.
Like I literally would, if I missed the gym that day, it wouldn't be like days. Like you hear some people, they say like, oh, you haven't been to the gym in like 2 weeks, I'm having withdrawals. No, like if I missed the gym that day, like while that day is still going on, I'd be feeling like the whole day would just be off.
Yeah.
Like if I said I'm going to the gym between 11 and 3 or whatever, well, after 3 o'clock, if I didn't go and I'm not going for the rest of the day is going to be shit.
Yeah, it's going to be ruined.
Yep. Let me ask you this about your mom. What's one thing that you miss from her and one thing that you learned from her that you apply to your life today?
Oh, what do I miss about her? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I miss her. I miss having somebody I can rely on, and fall back on, for sure. She died when I was, fairly young. I was 25 when she passed away, and so I mean that's fairly young, not super young, but it made things a a little harder, you know, not having somebody to rely on, not having any family to be able to fall back on in case anything happens or when I fall, you know, not having anybody to be able to pick me up, you know, having to rely on friends or relationships that I've created along the way throughout life. One thing I learned from her, man, I mean, is that I utilize. I mean, every day, my resilience. You know, she was very strong-willed, stubborn. You know, and I think that I've definitely utilized that to benefit my life for sure. Yeah.
How was it when she passed? Because I'm assuming, I'm just going to assume here, that because I feel like when people die suddenly, sometimes it's harder than it is when it's kind of like you kind of have time to prepare yourself for it. Like if they become like sick and then they slowly snowball, you know, you have more time to mentally prepare versus if, you know, like I had a family member who went to the hospital with a cold and a headache, and then 2 days later they were dead in the hospital, you know. Like that would be traumatizing, super traumatizing, because no one expected that.
Yeah.
You know? So losing your mom, like how was that like experience?
You know, I think that I've been preparing for that since I was 2 years old, right? So when my mom got AIDS, I grew up really fast. You know, people treated me like, you know, they also not pitied me, but they would always give me sympathy and things like that. But I also had to grow up very fast. I was in a lot of like sex awareness classes and like AIDS awareness classes, because the time when my mom had AIDS, a lot of people didn't know a lot about AIDS at the time, right? And so I got treated differently at school sometimes. I got treated differently from parents, you know, other kids' parents. Some kids wasn't allowed to play with me. Some kids wasn't allowed to come over, right? And so since 2 years old, I was always told, be prepared, you know, your mom's going to die, you know. So, and they didn't know when. Back then it was, you know, it was a crapshoot. You didn't know when it was gonna happen. And so they would always tell me, you know, she can get a cold and die. And so like, it kind of calloused me and kind of like, you know, in a sense, because I was always told that she was going to die. So I was always prepared. So I kind of pushed myself away from her as well. As much as I loved my mom with everything I had and she was my rock, you know, there was a part of me that pushed myself away, you know, because, and I think that's why I reached out to the streets a lot. I reached out to my friends' parents and got closer with them. And because I always knew that they would be there, or there was a better chance that they would be there and not my mom, you know, because I knew she was going to die. So when she died, I guess it was hard. It hurt, you know, and I was already loaded, so it really definitely made me go off the deep end. But also, I think there was a sense of a relief, you know. And I say this to people all the time, or not all the time, but I definitely say this to people. Sounds harsh, but one of the best things that ever happened to me was my mom passing, because she was my enabler as well. You know, anytime I wanted to get clean, you know, and obviously that's where I would live. My mom had all the drugs, you know, so it would start out with getting a Xanax, or it would start out with getting a perk, or, you know, and it would just go off the deep end from there. Or somebody that came over there, I would wanted to get high, I can get high. And so after she passed away, I think that I didn't have anybody anymore. Now it was all on me.
Yeah. Do you think your life would have been different, like your life today would be different if you grew up with your father?
No, I mean, he was an addict as well, right? And so he was always living at my grandmother's when he was in and out of prison. You know, my stepdad was, I mean, I considered him a dad. You know, I mean, he was, you know, he was an alcoholic and a drug addict as well. And so, I mean, but he taught me some things that a man should teach a boy, you know, and which I'm grateful for, you know, definitely grateful for. But yeah, no, I don't think that my life would have been any better or any worse. I think that it might have been worse, to be honest. You know, my mom was able to keep a very tight household. You know what I mean? Even though she was doing what she did, you know, because she had AIDS. So it's like she was selling drugs, you know, to be able to afford, you know, me to be able to, you know, take care of her kid and, you know, and afford a house and pay all the bills. And so she definitely made the best of what she had, you know, in her circumstances, you know, and I do see that, and I do praise her for that, you know. But I think that the kids definitely, you know, took a sacrifice for us as kids did, you know, me and my little sister.
I was just about to ask that. Were you the only kid?
So I was for up until I was like 13. My little sister, we had my stepdad and my mom had my little sister, but she was definitely treated differently. She was definitely more of a sheltered, you know, my mom didn't let her see as much, you know, where it was really out in the open for me, and I was knee deep in it, you know. And so my sister was a little more sheltered and a little more naive to a
Yeah.
lot of it. You know, everybody catered to her and like made sure that she didn't see.
Did she ever end up with a drug problem or no?
You know, I have suspicions. You know what I mean? Of I think my sister dibbled and she definitely dibbled and dabbled and you know and partied and she lives a party lifestyle and does some things that I don't agree with, and I try to coach her and try to be there for her, but it's at a point where it's like, okay, like you're just gonna have to learn on your own, you know. And I
Yeah.
love her, and I hope that nothing too traumatic has to happen for her to want to change her
Right.
behaviors and her
Yeah.
lifestyles. And she's had friends that OD'd, you know, from just doing coke and die, and it been fentanyl, and you know, people that you know, in fact, one of her roommates it happened to, and so. Um, But man, like the fact of the matter is, man, we always think that it's not going to happen to us.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what they always say. They say you don't believe it until it smacks you in the face.
Yeah.
You know, because I think about it, and I'm not even going to speak too much on it because I don't want to jinx nothing. But I just think about, like, you know, I look around, like, in the world, all the things that I feel blessed because
Yeah.
I look around the things that happen in the world, things that, you know, even doing this podcast, is hearing the stories of things that people have been through. And I've been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But after hearing some of these stories, I feel like my life has been pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we all can find things that we want to change or things that we want to complain about, but overall, I feel like besides like the big elephant in the room type thing, my dad not being there, besides that, and you know the situation with my older children, um, I feel like besides those two things, my life's pretty good, you know. And sitting here today, if you could talk to your mom, before I say that, ask that question. When it comes to your mom, was there things that your mom wanted for you that even after she passed that you chased, like you tried to accomplish?
She just wanted me to be clean, you know, and get clean and sober. You know, she seen me throughout my addiction for sure. You know, as much as she had a hand in that, I mean, it was me. I was an adult, and so like really, none of it's really her fault after adulthood. You know, it was my choices and my actions. You know, I can blame it on her. I can blame it on my childhood. I can blame it on whatever. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, you know, is like I was very smart and knew what I was doing, and I enjoyed the lifestyle. I was addicted to it. You know.
Your mom would try to tell you to get off of it.
Yeah, she'd want me to get clean. Yeah, for sure. She definitely wanted me to get clean. You know, and she would try to push and for that. And yeah, yeah. Of course, Of course, she doesn't want to see her son, you know, smoking meth or doing pills and you know seeing the same lifestyle that she went down. You
Yeah.
know, as well. You know, and then my dad, you know, doing it as well. You know.
Okay. What got you to recovery?
Like I said, man, I think there was just an emotional and a spiritual bottom. You know, I think that I've been in and out of the game since I was 14 years old, and living that lifestyle and the fast life, and I just kind of eventually, man, I was just like, okay, enough is enough, you know, and I reached out to a friend, and you know, and we went to detox once again for the fifth, sixth, seventh time. I don't even know how many times I've been, and yeah, and so I've been so I'm grateful because I've created a community in Alcoholics Anonymous, and so I knew where I could go, right? I knew where the solution is, right? And so this time around, when I finally said enough was enough, I went to detox, and I realized it was going to be too easy because they're going to give me drugs, and I'm not going to feel the withdrawals. And I was cold turkey and pretty much trying to cold turkey fentanyl, you know. And I left detox early after a day and a half, and then I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous and pretty much just laid down on the ground for days, you know, just sick, you know, and just pushed through that, man. And then, you know, one day, you know, 24 hours turned into 48, you know, and you know, and it just kept adding up, you know. And eventually when I got to like day 11, I was finally feeling decent enough to go to the gym, you know. And then after that, you know, just kept going, you know, and then kept going to meetings, kept doing the deal. And
How long you been sober?
so April 15th was 3 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So and that's sober from everything.
Everything, yeah, clean and sober, yeah, all the way.
Man, whew. I know, cause I like for me like getting off of smoking weed, right? That's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like for instance, like the vape, like a lot of people don't even know I vape, but at this point, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Right? But I think, to be honest, I feel like 90% of the people vape. I've seen old ladies vaping.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But like just getting off of that, like if I go like 3 days without vaping, like I feel like I'm about to just like start banging my head against a wall or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that getting off of like a hard narcotic drug is probably like 10, 15 times worse.
Oh, I mean, physically, yeah, I mean, the withdrawals suck. You know, I mean, you feel like you have the flu times 1,000. Your body hurts. I mean, nothing takes it away. Nothing helps it really. Nowadays they have like Suboxone and these things that take away the withdrawal, which is just another crutch. And I think that Matt's program is great for people that are going to utilize it for that, but then people get addicted to that. Same
What's
thing I
Matt's
seen with my
program?
mom. So Matt's is I don't know the technical terms, so don't quote me on that. But it's they have like it's kind of like a methadone program in a sense, right? But they prescribe you Suboxones, so it takes away that opiate receptor, and so then your body doesn't crave the opiates. And then if you do opiates, it doesn't allow you to get high. And so people do that, and then they get addicted to that, and then they just use that for years. And then there's some people that utilize it for the right reasons, and they get through the withdrawals, they get through treatment, they start working a program, and then they start coming off of the Suboxones and stuff. So no, it is extremely harder in a different way, because I've quit vaping, I don't know how many times, and eventually that boredom kicks in or something, or I'm at work and I'm just like bored, and I'm just like, okay, let me hit the vape, and then it's off and running again.
Yeah.
For a few months. It's so I think that vaping in a sense is almost
Worse.
harder, because it's not affecting your life in a negative manner, right?
Yeah.
You know that you're not gonna lose your kids and your house and your job and your car, and you're not gonna go rob your neighbor because you don't have a vape, and so it's a different type of hard.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely. It's not like a physical hard.
No.
Yeah, it's a definitely.
I think there's physical, to a certain extent. Like it's.
Might get shakes or something.
No, I mean it's. I guess it's not a physical, but it's I guess mental. You're right. Yeah, it's not physical. It's mental for sure.
I wasn't gonna say mental. I was gonna say it's like a life altering.
Yeah.
Seriously, because I mean, you think about it, right? Do you vape when you drive in your car?
Oh yeah. The most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing during this time when you quit, for me, right, when I quit vaping, I got, as soon as I got in the car, I got like this, I got lightheaded. I got like, my body started feeling like it was like cramping and started shaking and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was wrong. I started driving, and then I get to the first stoplight, and I reached for, I was like, oh, I don't vape no more.
Yep.
And that right there, it was almost like having to go to the bathroom, and the gas station attendant tells you the bathroom's closed. Like literally, the withdrawal started hitting me. I mean, I couldn't focus. My vision was getting blurry.
Yeah.
Like it's terrible. Mm-hmm. But everything in my life, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't, edit. I didn't edit podcasts for weeks.
Oh wow.
Like because I was like, I just couldn't focus on anything. You know. So then, but as soon as you hit that vape that one time, it's like a drug. I mean, you're just like
yeah.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who's battling with dealing with drugs and thinking about getting off of it, and they're just kind of like going through it, they're struggling? What advice would you give them?
I mean, the only advice could you give somebody, man? I mean, when you're ready and that window is open that you want to help, I mean, go to detox. Go to detox and go to a treatment center for 30 days at least. I don't think that the solution is in a treatment center. I think, but it's a very good vacation to get you away from that lifestyle, those people, and the drug itself, right? And then there's a reason why these treatments get paid $30,000 per person, but then they tell you to go to a 12-step program when you get out. The 12-step program works if you're willing to work it.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing that ever happened to me was me getting in 12-step program, because it gave me a community. Now I know these people that I've created like lifetime friendships with that that are solution based, like these people helped me raise my, you know what I mean, like my kid when I was, you know, going through recovery and things like that. And I'd have my daughter, and there was things I didn't know, you know what I mean. I'd reach out to these people. I mean, they taught me how to give her Tylenol, you know, when she had a fever. You know, it's like I didn't know how to live as an adult, as a normal human being, you know, and like some yeah, like I just didn't, you know, like that stuff was new to me. You know, I knew how to sell drugs, I knew how to, you know, commit crimes, you know what I mean, and things like that. And so like there was a lot of things I didn't know. And so yeah, the rooms raised me. It taught me how to be a man. It taught me how to be vulnerable. It taught me how to, you know, allow my emotions and cry if I need to, or be yeah, just be vulnerable with another man, especially. You know, I think that was one of the hardest things about the program, was learning that it's okay to be vulnerable with another man, you know.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to ask you this. How important do you think it is for men to be able to be vulnerable in life?
I think is more important than anything. I think that, don't get me wrong, like I think that I'm the age that I am, and the way that I was raised, you know, yeah, I think that there was a lot more alpha males, and so it was more pushed and frowned upon to like be open and honest and vulnerable with other men. And I think that to a certain level, I think that that's healthy, is in like, you know, the alpha male, you know, I think we need alpha males in this world, and I think that we don't have enough of them anymore. But also I think that a true alpha male is able to be vulnerable. I think that it's so important, right? Because there is so much suicide, and there is so much mental health and depression that men go through as well, that isn't talked about, because they don't want to put that weight and that type of burden on their significant others or their friends, or, you know what I mean, that it's not talked about. And I think that that's what's lacking in this world.
Do you think that the reason why it's not talked about is because of when we were younger, it was always, you know, enforced that, you know, like you just suppress everything, like men don't cry,
Yeah.
stop being a softie, and then, so we kind of like just like generationally pass that down to the next generation, right? Do you feel like that's the reason why that it's like, you know, frowned upon and not
Well, I
talked
think
about
that
as
there's
much?
factor. I think that has a factor to play into it too. And I think what it really comes down to is a pride thing. You know, I think that men are scared to really talk about the things that are in their head, you know, and what they're talking about. You know, I could talk about all the trauma that I went through, all the things that I went through as a kid, and it's nothing to me, you know. But what was hard for me is like the emotions and the feelings behind that, the thoughts that it gave me, right? Like, because I have sexual trauma as well, right? And you know, when I talk about this, is like I'm really open about any of it, you know, especially in a meeting and when I talk about newcomers, because it's something that people are scared to talk about. You know, a lot of that sexual trauma made me like question my sexuality. Why did I say no? Why didn't I say no? Why didn't I fight back? Why didn't I, you know, I knew better, or I should have done something differently, you know? And so for a long time, that caused me to like question my sexuality because of my choices, and why didn't I do something differently? And then what did it do? It made me like compensate and hurt a lot of women. You know, once I lost my virginity, like I went around like, you know, hurting women's feelings, you know what I mean? And like, and it wasn't okay. And I didn't realize this until I got older, you know, obviously, of like how much damage I was causing to people that in my life, especially women, you know, trying to overcompensate, and like of the things that I thought, you know, from my childhood, you know. And then I was belittled and told a bunch of things that made me like have a complex and be insecure about, and recovery is the reason why I was able to talk about all that, right? Getting a sponsor and talking to, realizing, because it was the fear of these people were going to use it against me.
Yeah.
Right? If I told you with this, I was going to become a victim, you were going to use it against me, and I was going to look at like I was weak. Right? And then what do I know best about when I feel vulnerable and like somebody thinks I'm weak? What do I want to do? Is like I fight.
Yeah.
You know, if my pride and my ego gets hurt, like that's what I wanted to do as a kid. That's what I was used to. And so that was my biggest fear, is that it was going to get utilized against me, until I realized. So it took me going to treatment. You know, one of the times I went to, it's called Prosperity, shout out Prosperity for sure. They changed my life. They're a trauma-based facility and mental health based treatment center. And they have these things called PSGs.
Okay.
Personal self group, I think is what it's called, or something, support group or something. And it's like you talk about these things, and no one's allowed to touch you, no one's allowed to like comfort you. You know, you're supposed to talk about these things, and there's these questions that get asked, And if you start crying, nobody can give you a tissue or nothing like that because they want you to embrace the feelings.
Right. Okay.
You know, because you're so used to in life suppressing feelings. Like if I got sad or something like that, I'm used to wanting to suppress that. I don't want to show that. You know, especially as a man.
Yeah.
You know, especially. And so I seen this. It was this 7-foot dude, man, just monster of a guy, and he talked about some sexual trauma, and in this group, and he started crying, and when he was talking about this, I looked around the room, you know, and nobody batted an eye and looked at him differently. You know, nobody treated him differently afterwards. Nobody, said anything negative, and I seen the weight lift off of this guy's shoulder after he got done sharing this stuff. And it gave me the courage to finally be able to share of some stuff that I had went through, that I was holding in, that I wasn't willing to talk about, you know, in these group with these men I don't know, you know. And it was harder because I knew somebody that I used to get high with in this group.
Yeah.
So it was really scary to want to share this stuff. And after that day, I went to my counselor and I told her, I said, hey, I want to share. I'm ready to share about that, you know. And,
How'd you feel when you shared?
it was scary. I was nervous, sweating, you know. But after it was done, there was a weight lifted off me. It's hard to explain, you know, because that was one of the reasons why I couldn't get sober and utilizing a 12-step program, because I couldn't get honest about some stuff.
Yeah.
There was some secrets I just wasn't willing to share because I was afraid.
I'm not going to ask too many questions about the. We can talk about if you want to. It's up to you.
I don't. You can ask me anything, man. I don't care about what, you know. I'm an open book for the most part, you know.
Okay. Because I've never had anybody male say that they ever had sexual trauma. So sexual trauma for a male, like, how is that? Because, you know, most people say as a guy you can't really be, you know, raped. I know nowadays, like, you know, they kind of say you can be, but you have one side that always argues you can, and you have the other side that says you can't, because in order for, you know, your penis to work or something like that, you have to be aroused, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also true that all arousal is not pleasurable.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just stimulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, looking back on it, because I'm assuming you were part of a child then.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, was it a family member?
No. So yeah. So at first, so like I said, I was part of it. You know, in my household, there was a lot of drug addicts and a lot of people coming in and out. And then my mom also had. My mom was like always a caretaker, and so she always took care of like other women and their kids and things like that. And so, yeah, there was some other kids that were my mom's best friend's kids, and they had went through a lot of sexual trauma, and then they had pretty much manipulated me into doing some things and things like that kind of really messed up my head. And some people will call it like exploring, you know, as a kid or whatever you want to call it, experimenting, you know, but it really messed me up, you know. And then there was a lot of sexual trauma, some other situations that had happened to us as kids through some other adults, you know, that we were all kind of intertwined in. And yeah, and so like, yeah, it messed me up, you know what I mean? Because I had a choice. I could have said no, and, you know, and...
You think if you would have said no, they would have listened?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think about that. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter to me anymore. You know, it's like, I try not to dwell on like, well, what if it would have happened like this, if I would have said this, or if I would have done this, because it's pointless,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I have to find a way to accept what it is and utilize it to benefit my life, right? Like there's always negatives in life. You know, where can I find a positive in it? You know, I did a lot of wasting time in life of being angry and acting out and being upset and hurt and closed off from the world, you know, and all that did was like hurt me. Nobody else was hurting because of that, you know. It was me, and I was hurting my kids, I was hurting myself, hurting people that loved me, because I'm constantly loaded, you know. And so like today in my life, I don't dwell on the what ifs. What's the point, you know?
That's true.
What is the point?
But, you know, subconsciously, I never really thought about it. Subconsciously, I'm the same way, kind of. I don't really think about the what ifs too much. Like, I really don't try to ponder too much on the negative stuff in the past, period. Like, I like talking about the good stuff and just memories, but even if it is negative, I try not to ponder on it. We talk about it, and I don't try to get like emotionally attached to it. You know, whatever emotions I had towards it, I try not to really kind of pick those emotions back up at all. You know,
Well, you give it power,
yeah,
right? And that was like the thing is like when I finally was able to talk about that stuff in that treatment center, like it took away the power from it. It no longer had power over me.
yeah,
Right. And now what can I do with it? You know, now I can talk to newcomers that are coming into sobriety and tell them, hey, I've been through the same thing, man. Like I've done some things that like that most people are embarrassed about, you know, but it's okay. You're not alone. You know, it's
yeah.
like other men go through this more than you think, you know, but a lot of them won't talk about it, you know, and I think that once again, you know, that's why a lot of men don't want to be susceptible and vulnerable to talking about certain things or, you know, burdening other people with, you know, with their problems.
Do you ever feel like sometimes, like before you got into these support groups, did you ever feel like sometimes like you were alone?
I think there was a reason why I create like I never allowed myself to feel alone or like be alone, right? Like I was always around people, you know, like that was my stimulation to be able to keep myself out of my own thoughts. So I was always around people when I was getting high. I was always around people in recovery, you know, and it finally got to a point in my recovery where like I'm okay with being alone. You know, I love who I am today. You know, I love reading a book. You know, I never thought I would ever be that guy that like reads books, you know, but I really enjoy reading books. I enjoy watching TV. I enjoy taking time of just vegging, you know, and I call it serenity, right? I didn't know what serenity was and peace until, you know, getting in recovery. And so yeah, so now I'm okay with being alone and not having to be around people. I still love people and I still get overstimulated when I'm around a bunch of people because I love making people laugh. We have a good time, you know, and but yeah, I guess I never really felt alone because I was always surrounding myself with people on purpose.
I was going to ask you a question to switch this conversation, but I was curious because for all you guys who are watching, we know each other from the gym. When you first came into, were you already like big in the gym when you first came to Spend Away Fitness?
I think I had about 6 months clean-ish before I got to Spanaway Fitness. I was at 24 Hour, and it was just because I would leave work and they would be right there. And then eventually I moved out to Spanaway. And then after 6 months of doing that, I found Spanaway Fitness. And yeah, so I was already addicted because, I mean, this is what made me feel good, right? I was on day 11, still going through withdrawals. See, the thing with fentanyl is you withdraw for like up to like 30 days or more. It all depends on each person. Like, so I wasn't feeling 100% for months, you know?
Yeah.
And so the day that I felt decent, you know, which was like day 11 or whatever, felt even just like the energy to go do anything, I went and got those endorphins at the gym. And so I was addicted from that point on, you know, like I needed it to feel better, you know? And now coming into it, you know, I'm just over 3 years clean and sober. And so so I have a little over 3 years in fitness, you know, and working out. And now I can find the, I can balance. I can find the balance. Now I can take a week off, a deload week, right? And go heal all the way up and then go to the gym again, you know, a week later and not feel like I'm missing something. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about earlier, right? About like how you were addicted, like you couldn't miss the gym. I went through that.
Yeah. It was bad.
I mean, like I bring a gym bag to work and then the minute I leave work, nothing comes between me and getting to that gym.
Go on vacation, you just land and you're supposed to be going to the beach, but no, you missed the gym, so you got to go.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But the reason why I brought it up was because I know that you didn't compete or anything, right? And obviously, Spedway Fitness is it's like a multilateral like sports gym, meaning like there's got bodybuilding, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, and then just your regular day people, right?
Yeah.
I would say it's predominantly the powerlifters in that gym.
Yeah.
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 But you identify as a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I would consider myself more into bodybuilding. Yeah, for sure.
What made you make the choice between powerlifting and bodybuilding?
So I think that it comes from a lot of insecurities, right? Like I said, those I was never okay with like the way that I looked when I got in recovery and was clean and sober. Like I didn't like being skinny. I didn't, and I knew as a kid I always looked really healthy when I was a little husky and had weight on me. And so this time around, getting in recovery and like I mean, it's still mind-boggling to me when I see pictures of when I had 19 months in previous stints of recovery, how skinny I still was, you know, and so I just wanted change. I wanted to feel good in my own skin. I wanted to feel confident, you know, and so I needed it. I needed something to focus on. You know, it was kind of like this was my hobby now.
Okay.
You know.
So you're just kind of now addicted with finding your next striation.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. What I love about fitness, I think the most, is that there isn't an end goal. Recovery, same thing, right? When you're working a program or you're in recovery, there's never an end goal. There is no ending to this. This is lifetime.
Yeah.
Fitness is the same thing. I can change my body composition as I want, right? If I'm getting tired of this look, okay, I'm going to start bulking. I'm going to try to do this. Or I can go into powerlifting. Or, you know, like what's been on my mind and weighing on my heart lately is like, I want to do a bodybuilding show. You know, like I like creating goals. I like chasing some kind of goal and having something to look forward to, you know, and I'm grateful I have good genes, right? And so like I'm able to get, you know, muscle definition that some people can't, or, you know, good legs. And so like, why waste it? I want to try to do a show. Just even if I do okay, you know what I mean? Like I can say that I've done it, you know?
Now with bodybuilding and wanting to compete though, with your background, would you ever be open to doing like, you know, steroids or anything?
Well, I've already dibbled and dabbled in steroid use. I'm on testosterone for sure. I'm very open about what I take. I don't like to lie to people. I don't want people to think that they can obtain a physique in like that I have or that other people have without having some kind of enhancements, you know? So yeah, so I definitely do testosterone, and I've definitely have started some HGH, you know, for healing purposes also, but also muscle growth. You know, I've done a little bit of tren, you know, I've done like one cycle of tren. It's overrated, you know, the risk to the reward just isn't enough for me to want to continue doing it. And then Masteron, I've done Masteron and some Anavar.
Anavar.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anavar's been around for a minute.
It's great. I mean, it's great for if you want results. It's great, and it's, you know, I do a lot of research, and I talk to a lot of people about the things that I do before I do them. And yeah, I mean, it goes for anything, man. If you're not gonna be smart about it, you know, it could become dangerous. You know, I get my blood work done every 3 months. Like I'm open with my doctor about what I take and everything, and so he knows everything that I take, how much I take. You know, he gives me blood work every 3 months. You know, I go donate blood every 3 months. You know, I just started doing that. You know, so I try to do everything as safe as possible. I definitely don't do extreme levels. You know, I take 250 milligrams of testosterone a week. You know, my levels are normally stay, you know, level at around like 9 to 1,000. My testosterone is.
You said 9 to 1,000?
900 to 1,000.
Oh, I thought you meant like the number 9. I was
saying,
no. That's a big range, man.
No. Yeah. No, so it's 900 to 1,000, right?
Yeah.
So most people, they consider like the low end is 200.
200, yeah.
You know, depending on your age.
Okay. Yeah, I can't take nothing.
It's crazy.
I can't take anything.
And
I wish I could.
And I think it's great, man. I think that whatever, you know, if people can't take it, then I understand. It's like,
if I could have taken steroids, I would have never went to powerlifting.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like I was in love with just the work that it takes for bodybuilding. I was in love with the process for sure. I was not in love with the eating. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's hard.
That part was it was annoying to me. That's where I felt like I wouldn't be able to have a lot of longevity, was because I knew that I was not going to be able to stick to that eating regimen. Yeah. But also too because I have Graves.
Oh, okay.
And so I can't take anything that's going to mess with my hormones. All right?
Oh.
So this is not, like you said earlier, risk versus reward. You know, like it's not and like I said earlier, it doesn't pay. You know, so I'm not getting paid for it.
Yeah, so don't hurt
So what's
yourself.
the point of risking it? You know, like And even if I was getting paid for bodybuilding, I still wouldn't do it. My life is,
Mm-hmm.
you can't put a dollar on that.
100%. Right. Yeah.
When did mental health become important to you, or like something that you was like, aware of, like seriously aware of?
I think that, I mean, mental health has always been, like I said, I grew up fast, and so like my mom tried to have me in counseling at a young age, because I was a very angry kid, with my mom having AIDS, my dad dying. I was always very angry, fighting, lashing out, things like that. So they tried to put me into in counseling, and so like I knew all about mental health and like how important it was or whatever, but it wasn't until obviously I got in recovery for sure, is when I finally was willing to want to work on it. But I could never stay clean and sober long enough to actually like make the commitment to do it. Yeah, now, like I said, man, I just wasn't willing to get vulnerable. And so I think that it takes the key component to having any type of mental health cured or like any type of healing towards mental health is vulnerability. Honesty and vulnerability. If you're not willing to get honest and be vulnerable, you're never going to get any type of like healing benefits to your mental health.
Heal a lie.
Well, because you're lying. You're not being open. You're not being honest about the way you feel, the things that you're thinking, or your thoughts, or your, behaviors even. Right? That's it. Right? When we don't get open and honest and be vulnerable, man, it affects our behaviors. That's where it lashes out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What's more important to you, love, peace, or loyalty, and why? Love, peace, or loyalty?
Hard question.
Let me know when you got your answer. I'm gonna take a guess, see if I can figure out which one you're gonna say, and I'm gonna say why I think you're gonna say that one.
All right.
You got yours?
No, go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I want you to have yours yet, but don't say it. I want to guess it before you say it.
All right. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I feel like for you, you'd probably say it's peace at this point in your life. And this is, but I'm gonna tell you why I said it. Just after sitting here listening to you and talking to you, and then after the conversations that we've had, I just feel like you've lived a wild life since you were young. From the trap house to the street life for yourself, to prison, to all the different things that you've been through. They're all like loud and just like there's no downtime in this. There's no downtime in like that life. Unless you choose it, but there's always something 24 hours a day you can get into. And I feel like at this point in time in your life, you probably like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to the gym, go to work, and do my thing and chill. Like I'm gonna stay out the way. I feel like that's like where you're at.
Man, I'm torn, right? Like, I protect my peace like nobody's business today for sure. Because it's so huge for me. And then part of me though really wants to pick love. Because I think that as a kid, right? Like, there was love in the house. Don't get me wrong, but like there was a sense of like with my mom being told that she was gonna die. Like I craved the love. I craved to be seen, and so. As an adult now, I cherish my friendships and the people that I care for. I love, I love big. I love the people that are in my circle. I love people that ain't. I tell people, and it's funny too because I had an ex. She got upset with me about and told me not to tell her that I love her because I tell all of my friends, girlfriends, guys, all of them, that I love them when I get off the phone because I know how important life is, right? And how it's taken for granted. And so like the people that I talk to on a daily, I have love for you. You know what I mean? And when I get off the phone, I tell you I love you, and that bothered her, which is mind-boggling to me, you know what I mean? Because love is so important. Everybody, like I think it's the key to peace, in a sense. You know what I mean? Is like if you have people around you that love you, then you have a sense of peace. You know what I mean? You feel fulfilled. And because being alone for me, being peaceful can be, some people consider it just with no noise, no chaos, no people around, right? But that's lonely to me. I need people,
Yeah.
I need people.
I'm the same thing. Right?
I am
Same
a
thing.
tribe person, and I think we all are tribe people. Like we are meant to be in a community and a tribe and help each other. You know what I mean? Help raise each other's kids. You know, and I think that's what's wrong with the world today. Why it's so dark and why it's so negative and why we're so divided is because people don't want to help people. People don't love. People don't. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like everybody's using each other as a figure out what they can get from each other,
yeah,
versus being genuine.
selfish. It's a
Yeah,
selfish world,
yeah.
for sure.
And I think, like you said earlier, that's one of the reasons what's wrong with the youth we have today is the community raising has went out. You know,
Yeah.
growing up when we grew up for decades, it had been said, it takes a village, and then somewhere that went out the window, and now I mean you can't tell your neighbor's kids to, hey, it's not okay to play on other people's yards or whatever the case may be. You can't tell them anything without
Yeah.
the other person trying to crash out on you.
Yep.
But I think that's like I agree. That's one of the biggest flaws that we have is that people don't want to come together. I talk about it.
Huge.
I talk about it with support. Just with everything. If they feel like what you're trying to do won't benefit them, or it's going to get in the way of what they're trying to do, you're not giving it. They don't want to see you win.
Yeah.
And if they do, they just want to kind of see the path that you took to get there, so that way they can try to kind of like copy and paste it.
Yeah, and which is fine. And that's the thing. I don't care if you want to see how I got to where I'm at or something like that. If you're willing to do the work, then that's okay. That's healthy, right? And I was going to say that earlier. You were talking about something and comparison, right? People say that comparison is a thief of joy, right? When you're always comparing to other people, then then it's stealing from your own joy, right? Because you're always in comparison. But I think there's a healthy version of that too, right? If you're willing, because I used to do it in the gym. I'd see people's physiques. I'd see people the way they carry themselves. I used to do it in recovery, right? Like I'd see people with. So in the gym, I'd see people with like certain physiques and see the way they work out, and I would mimic that. I would see what they're doing. I'm like, oh, I want that kind of that kind of body stature. I want that kind of composition. And so what I would do is I would see what they're doing, and I would utilize that myself, right,
Yeah.
to be able to get to where I'm at, right. And that's healthy.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do the work that you're willing to do because to get what you got.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut corners and steal it from you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hating on you. Like, I'm congratulating you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like difference between, whatever. It's like, I'm not envious. I'm not jealous. I'm willing to do the work because I'm grateful and I appreciate what you have and the way you got there. Right. And so, yeah. And then I don't know. I think And so I think that the way the world has gotten as well, right? I was raised from a parent that my mom used to say it, if my kid's acting up, you get to whoop his ass. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whose friend's house I went to or whatever. They're like, you can whoop my kid. If he's acting up and he's getting out of line, you can spank him. You know what I mean? And it used to be like that. You know what I mean? Where parents could, like you said, they can teach other kids and they can tell them, hey man, that's not okay. Don't be doing that. You don't put your hands on a girl. You don't. You know what I mean? And we were willing to. But now there's so many, like, pride and ego is huge, and everybody feels entitled. Everybody feels protected, even the children, they don't feel like they got to listen because the government has gave them so much power, almost more power than the parents have.
It's very true because I was talking about this on a episode I did not too long ago. I asked the guest, I was like, have you ever thought about when you were younger, did you ever think about calling CPS on your parents?
Yeah.
And he was like, hell no. And that's what I'm thinking, like, I never knew that. Still to this day, I never know the number to not one CPS place.
No.
I mean, what, 911?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I never thought about it because, like I said earlier, I mean, yeah, I got spankings growing up. I got whoopings growing up. Got hit with switches, belts, all that kind of stuff. Would I say I was abused? Heck no.
I think that's a matter of perspective. I think that every single kid, though, so that's what trauma. So, like, trauma is a really touchy subject in my eyes because what is traumatic to me may be so traumatic to you that it affects your life into your adulthood.
It's funny you say that, man, because I tell people this. It's the same thing with coming on this podcast. I've had people say, oh, I love what you're doing, man. I invite everybody to come be on. They're like, oh, well, my life's not that. I haven't went through anything that crazy. My life's just boring. And I explained to them. I said, look, what you consider to be boring, what you consider to be, just, not that extravagant or whatever, to somebody else could be life or death. I was like, you could be going through like, like, I don't know, let's just say, you can't pay your bills, right? And for you, you will just thug it out, figure it out, and it's not going to affect you that much. But to the next person, they're having suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
They're thinking about what's the point of you living because they have no money, or because they can't pay their rent. And by you telling that your story about what you've been through, and it's something similar to them, even if for you it wasn't that big of a deal, for that other person, they're gonna have a little bit of hope now, because somebody they can relate to, on whatever level, has now went through the same thing and talked about how they got through it. And in that moment when they're listening to it, you never know who's gonna watch this.
100%. Yeah.
And and not only who's gonna watch it, but what kind of mind frame they're gonna be in when they're watching it. You know what I mean? So like maybe they're doing battling with something, and then they just got on YouTube, and they weren't looking for this podcast necessarily, but they stumble upon it, and they just happen to listen, and then they listen to your story about everything you've been through, and how you're still sitting here today smiling and still here looking to help other people out. And then they're like, you know what? My life ain't that bad, or this situation's not that bad. I can get through
healthy
it.
comparison. That's one of those healthy comparisons, right?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it opens our mind and gives us a different perspective, and we need that. We need to hear people's voice and their stories to be able to have perspective, and that's what we talk about in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous as well, right? And or 12-step programs is like, don't look at the differences, look at the similarities. It's like, if you're having a bad day, man, you go to a meeting, you hear a newcomer and hear about his problems and what he just went through, and kind of changes your perspective, right? And so it's, it is. Sometimes we need, and God works in mysterious ways. I'm a Christian, and I think that, man, like the way that God works, man, is absolutely, nothing happens in this world by mistake. And the people that are going to stumble upon, say, this podcast, when they're going through a crisis, in their life, is for a reason, and, but are we willing to do something after we hear that message? Like that's the difference.
Did you become a Christian before or after the addiction?
I've always been a Christian. I had my best friend growing up. So my best friend growing up, his dad was a pastor, and so my mom used to send us to Awanas every Wednesday or whatever it was, as a kid, and then we'd go to this thing called Club Impact, which was like on Friday nights at Life Christian Church in Tacoma, and it was Christian based. You'd have to go to the church service and stuff like that. But also my best friend's dad was a pastor, and I used to go to church with them all the time, and and they lived a house away from me or 2 houses away from me, and that was my best friend since diapers. And so I've always had some kind of like intuition or like some kind of belief in God. I definitely veered away as I got deeper and darker into my addiction, for sure. And there's a quote or a saying in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, actually, that says, like, I used to thank AA for God, but now I thank God for I used to thank God for AA, but now I thank AA for God. And that's my story, right? Because it rekindled that fire, that I lost, for a long time, and I'm not a perfect Christian, I still do have behaviors that are not healthy or not Christian viewed or whatever, but like the fact of the matter is like I have a mindset of I want to be better, you know what I mean? And I think that's what matters, Or do you want to be better? Do you want to help other people? Do you not? I don't want to hurt anybody, And so I think, so I've always had a Christian faith.
Yeah. The reason why I brought that up was because I was going to ask, how do you think that being a Christian and having that community with the church that you go to and stuff like that, how do you think that helped you with your recovery?
Well, I think
and staying, not to cut you off, but also not only helping you with recovery, but also staying clean as law.
Well, I think that's so the end goal of working a 12-step program is for you to find a higher power. That is the whole goal. That's what it was based around in the very beginning. Whether it's a higher power of your understanding, right? It doesn't have to be a Christian God. It doesn't have to be a Catholic God. It doesn't have to be, whatever, Allah. It could be whatever, right? It's just a higher power of your understanding. Something that you can have faith in, that you can pray on when you're alone and you're going through it. Because we're not always going to be here, right? Like, you have a family, right? And one of your best friends called you in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? You may not be able to answer. Well, who does he have to turn to? Well, when you have a relationship with God, then you have God to turn to, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say, you can feel a little comfort there, right? In prayer and doing that things. And that's the point of the program, right? Is to, one, help other alcoholics, give back, and two, find a higher power of your understanding, who I call God.
Okay.
You know? So I think it's huge.
Do me a huge favor. Spin that wheel for me. And then let me know what it lands on, man. You're the first person who came here and didn't ask about ask about it.
Yeah.
Usually people sit down and they look at it and they're like, "Oh, well, what's this?" And I'm like, "You can't look at it until you guys spin it." So,
Okay.
what did it land on?
I think we're right in the middle.
The red and the green at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the other one? Oh, we'll go with stereotypes because the other ones put that shit down, and basically you've been talking about put that shit down. Put that shit down is just basically like what's something that you had to kind of like let go of in order to protect your mental peace, in order to become to be the person who's sitting here today. So like in your case, obviously would have been like the addictions and stuff. So stereotypes. What's obviously you know everything about you. You know who you are. Oh, fun fact. Before we get to that question, I never would have guessed that you were Norwegian and Jewish.
Yeah. So like that's mainly more than 50% of me made up of Norwegian and then Jewish and then a lot of Eastern European.
Okay.
A little bit of Native. You know, nothing to really speak about, like 4%, but like, yeah. And I never knew that either, right? I mean, I come from a family that didn't talk about. I never asked questions
Did
to
you
my
do?
mom.
Would you do 23andMe or something like that?
It was an ancestry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But no. So for stereotypes, what kind of stereotypes that pertain to you that you find to be completely wrong and or hilarious?
What do you mean? Like for me, like what people like
Like,
stereotype
like
me
for instance,
for?
like you know,
or-
like obviously, like things that pertain to you, like for instance, like being a drug addict, somebody who went to prison, someone who grew up with a single mom, someone who grew up with a mom or a parent who's a drug dealer, like the stereotypes that align with the different things that you've been through in your life. What's one that like you think is like to be completely false and or to be hilarious?
Well, so, I mean, just the drug addict, right? Like, I think that people stereotype addicts and alcoholics as they're just always going to be failures. They're always going to be losers. They're always going to be, and that's not the case. This is the thing, man. I've met some of the smartest people that I've ever met and the most resilient, the most, like, intelligent people in prison, or addicts. You know what I mean? And I think that, I think it creates a resilience that most people will never have. You know what I mean? Because of the things that you have to overcome. And so I think that it's really false that people think that drug addicts are useless or they're losers or that they're, you know what I mean, they don't have a voice, that they're not on, you know what I mean, they don't deserve to be seen or give chances to. I think that's false and it's hurtful, to people, because I think that everybody deserves to be seen and everybody deserves to be loved and heard and not judged,
And everybody can change if you want to.
100%. 100%.
You can change whatever behavior you want about yourself. You don't need deliverance. You don't.
No.
You just need the will and the want. You need the want first, the desire to, and then you have to have the will to, so what I'm looking for, withstand it.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything that you're giving up is gonna have, ups and downs. And those downs are gonna feel really down. And the ups are gonna feel really low.
Well, the difference between people that work a 12-step program, especially too, than just people that don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have an outlet, which is the gym, and things like that. But like, when we have really low lows, we have a solution, right? We can call somebody in the program that's gonna divert our mind back into something positive. Like, hey, well, how can we get you out of this? Let's call a newcomer. Or, hey, let's go get some food. Let's go. Where a lot of people that don't have that type of community, right? A solution-based community, and I think it's huge, right? Like we talk about birds, like, or there's that saying, right? Birds like feathers flock together, right? Mm-hmm. And so who you hang out with and who you surround yourself is who you're going to become. And so that's what I loved about Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, that's what I love about Spanaway Fitness, to be honest, is like, I've never found a gym that is so community based like my 12-step programs, like Spanaway Fitness. I love Spanaway Fitness. It gives me my social fill, you know, throughout the week, and it gives me my mental fill, right? Because I mean, that's where I get my mental health healing from, excuse me. And I'm friends with everybody in that gym. You know, I'm a talker, I'm a people person, I'm super extrovert. Like, I love making people laugh, joking while I'm working out. You know, I don't go in there just to put my head down and just work out. I go in there to you know.
Who's your favorite person at Spanaway Fitness?
That's hard, man. I don't.
Nah, it's only one favorite person. Everybody gotta have the same favorite person. You know their name.
Man, I like Sherm, man. Sherm's my guy, man.
He is.
Yeah, man. Sherm's my guy.
Guys, Sherman was on the podcast a year ago.
Yeah.
Popped up on the memories. Sherman is, I put it in the little note box they have, suggestion box, like 4 times now. Make Sherman the manager. Give him a.
Yeah, he deserves it.
They need to name that place Sherman Fitness.
Yeah. With that little sticker that's on the power box or whatever.
Yeah, I got that. Man, I love Sherman, man. I've said on this podcast like 5 times now, so I'm not gonna say. I want to hear from you. What do you love about Sherman?
I mean, it's his energy. He's always in a good mood, man. He's always happy. He's always pleasant. He's always being welcoming. Even on his off days, he's still, you know what I mean, gives you the thumbs up when he walks by, you know, and like, and that's what's beautiful about that gym. We've been all go there so much that when I see that he's having an off day, I'm like, what's up, Sherman? You tired today? What's going on? Everything good? You know? And he'll talk to me, you know, when he had some personal stuff going on where he had to go out of state for I don't know if you know, whatever. That's his business to tell, but I think it was a death or something. I don't remember, but like I could tell something was off, you know, and then he opened up, you know. It's like, but he always was positive, and he was always happy, and he's always welcoming.
The thing that I'll say about Sherman. He could be having a bad day, but unless you really know Sherman, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that he's trying to hide it. He just, understands what customer service means. It means that what you got going on is not important. What's important is these people, these people who come here, and you're providing a service for them.
Yeah, environment.
Right? And he understands that. And then 2, he's kind of similar to the both of us, where we like to see the people around us happy. We like to see the people around us smile. And I think he truly understands the power of his energy that he gives to people.
Yeah.
Because when people come in the gym and they're having a bad day and they see Sherman, if you ever notice, Sherman don't necessarily just let you scan in and walk away.
No, he's always like.
Yeah, he's always, and he'll talk to you. If you give him the quick second, he'll actually start talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he's once you actually get him talking, he's actually one of the funniest people in Spanaway Fitness.
Oh yeah, he's
actually got some really dark humor, to be honest.
Yeah.
With you. Sherman, if you're watching this, I'll never forget what you told me on the treadmill. I'm not gonna say nothing, but yeah.
Sherman's my guy.
Hey, do me a huge favor, man. Reach in that bucket right there, squeeze your hand around, pull one of them lucky things out of there, and then read it out loud for me.
All right.
We're gonna, instead of me drawing one, we're gonna answer the same question.
Okay. All right. So if we were to use months as names, what month would you choose as your name?
Is there all add Y on there too?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Go ahead.
You want to go first or me?
No, you go first. Shit. Well, we were to use months as names. What month would you choose? I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
I feel like I would use July. Nope. Take that back. I would say September because my birthday month, but that would sound good as a name. I think I'm going to have to go with probably March.
Oh, thief.
Huh?
You thief.
Oh, that's what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Probably March because I could see March being a name, for one, kind of. None of the months really sound like names. I mean, I guess May.
Yeah, May, yeah.
Or June. But those are like girl names, so I can't do that.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to go with March only because I just feel like, I mean, what's up, March?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
so
different
you go with
question.
March?
Yeah, I would.
Man,
choose
screw it.
March.
I'm going to pull one out.
Okay, yeah, do it. All right, so mine, I definitely would pick March, and I think that's, I'm trying not to get into astrology too much, but I mean, I think that the people I know that are Aries, you know, are some of the people I get along with the best, you know. And
March is Aries?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought March was Pisces.
Well, there is Pisces in it as well, but March, the end
See,
of
I
March,
can't
and then
keep up.
April, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I guess yeah. I mean, March is it's my birthday, and it's like
When's your birthday? Oh, March 30th.
yeah.
So your birthday's this weekend? No, that's
No,
May 30th.
yeah. Damn.
Sorry, guys.
Hey,
It's been a long day.
hey, somebody's confused. Hey, yeah, yeah. So no,
All right.
I would definitely pick March as well.
Ooh, this one got asked again. Okay, we're going to go with it. If you had the attention of the world for 30 seconds, what would you say? I pulled it, so I'll go first.
Okay.
If I had the attention of the world for 30 seconds, I'd say I think that as everybody needs to start loving on each other, stop hating on each other. You need to start spanking your kids, and actually being present in their life. And in the last 10 seconds, I just want to say that I think that as a country and as a world, we should abolish child support. I think that we need to do away with it and reconstruct it, because I don't think that the system is set up right. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that's my 30 seconds.
All right. Yeah. If I had 30 seconds, I would tell them, yeah, we need to come together. You know, divided we fall, and together we stand. Love each other, come together, be open-minded. You know, and yeah, since you gave a little 10-second spiel about some, I think that DSHS, I think that needs to be redesigned. I think it needs to come together. I think it needs to stop being utilized in a negative way. And yeah, I just yeah, I mean, yeah, I think
See,
people need to
look,
love.
two fathers say the same thing basically. CPS, DC, all
Yeah, all of it.
the same thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're trash towards men.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, the system is designed for people to take advantage of it, you know, and it's unfair to people that do work hard, that don't have somebody to lean on, or single mothers that do have a job that still can't afford their own bills, and then they can't get food stamps, you know, but people that are choosing to be homeless, choosing to do things that, you know what I mean, are able to get food stamps and can afford to eat or sell them for money. And I was one of those guys, you know what I mean? I really was. And that's why I speak on it so much, because, you know, when I'm clean and sober, I work for my money. You know, I pay my taxes, I do all of that, and I see how, I know how worked that system is, you know? So, yeah.
All right, man. What do you think about the podcast?
I liked it, man. I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoy the vulnerability. I like talking about things that matter, things that need to be heard, things that need to be said, you know, and yeah, no, so thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. Hopefully you come back.
I'm down.
Maybe
Yeah.
I do these other episodes, the men and women dynamics and relationship ones. I got a couple different things that I'm thinking about doing. So maybe you could be involved with those. What advice would you give to me for the podcast?
No, I love that you do it off your head, but I think that take some suggestions on what people want to hear about, you know, and then, you know, ask, you know, find people too, a couple people that have that going. If like people was asking you about addiction or recovery, you know, reach out to me if you wanted to, and we can have an episode just on that, or, you know, or whatever it is. Yeah, definitely. Maybe
Okay.
take suggestions on what people want to hear about mental health. What are people going through, you know?
Appreciate that.
No, yeah, for sure. I appreciate it.
All right, look, man. In the closing, man, we always switch seats. I didn't tell you because just like I come up with questions off the top of my head, it's your chance now. So basically, you'll be the interviewer now, and you get to ask me one or two questions about anything.
Okay. What is it that made you want to start a mental health podcast?
So, like we were talking about earlier off camera, basically I lost some people who were really close to me to it. And I wanted to find a way to help people. I'm not a therapist. I've tried, like I talked about with you. I've tried it every place I've lived. I've tried different ways to bring people together. I've been like that with my family my whole life. It's just kind of like who I am. And so I wanted to provide a platform for people, for everybody to be heard. Anybody who's listening to this, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if I didn't like you. And if you notice, I put past tense on it because I have no problems with anybody. uh, Nobody. I have no problems with nobody. I love everybody. And I just want to see everybody succeed. But yeah, I just wanted to grow. I just wanted to provide a platform for people to be heard. Because I feel like, just like you were talking about earlier about healing, I think that, you said vulnerability is like pretty much where healing begins. I think that vulnerability and being heard go hand in hand. If they're not, and they may even be the same thing. Just because, in order to be vulnerable, you got to be heard. And I just think that is very important. And so many people who have watched this podcast or who've been on, many different guests I've had on, I've had so many of them tell me like, hey, afterwards, like, hey man, like thank you for letting me come be on. Like, I forgot about some of the stuff we talked about, or like, man, it feels like a burden lifted up, or man, like it feels good to actually talk about that and not be judged or whatever the case may be. And I always divert it back to I just want somebody to be scrolling through YouTube or scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat or wherever platform I post on. I just pray that each day it's just one person scrolls through, sees the video, and whatever they see, it helps them
Right.
to get better, helps them to get through that day, get through that moment, maybe it doesn't alter their life, but it helps them get through that moment where they're alone until they can get to their real support system to help them get back on track. Maybe it's 3:00 in the morning and they just up and they're having bad thoughts and they decide to scroll through social media and see my video, and it helps them.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think, because this is the thing too, is like when somebody, even if it doesn't change somebody's perspective or change their behaviors or make them make some vital change in their life, what it does is I think it plants a mustard seed. It makes them think like, oh man, makes me want to change, or it makes me want to do a little something differently. You know what I mean? As long as you keep getting those mustard seeds, eventually something does change. Right,
Great.
for sure. And then one question, how has lack of vulnerability affected your relationships in your life with your wife or your kids, and how are you gonna, what behaviors did you change to be able to change that frequency? You know what I mean? In your relationships, if it has.
Lack of vulnerability, I don't think that applies.
Okay.
And I've talked about this on here many a times. And everybody who's watching this, who knows me, in real life, like knows me personally, they can attest to this. Like, I've always been that guy who, we have a deep conversation, I might tear up.
Yeah.
Whether it's just me and you talking, or me and my family talking, or me and my kids talking, or whatever the case may be, whoever I'm talking to, if it's fitting in the conversation, I have no problems showing emotion.
Yeah.
I show emotions with all my guy friends, and the reason why I do that, and I hope they're listening, is because if you need to be emotional around me, for a fact that I'm not about to clown you, because you've seen me cry 10, 15 times over things that I've gone through, and good cries too. My brother, man, I started thinking one day, I was driving, and I know this is kind of like a tangent, but I just want to put this out here too, because we always talk about bad stuff. I want to talk about something good real quick. My brother, he's always been there for me, man, and him and his whole family. Like, they're not my blood family, but he's my brother. So one day I was leaving the gym, Spanaway Fitness, and I was driving home. And in order to get home, I have to pass by his house. And so I was just driving, and usually when I get to like a certain road where I can, I think about his family every time. It never fails. And I start thinking, and I was like, man, I'm so blessed. Like, I have You know, as much as I would have, I love like to be, you know, I would love my relationship with him to be that for it to be like that with my siblings, my blood siblings. But it is what it is at this point. I can't control it. But I'm blessed that God gave me him because I don't know where I would be. I don't know if I'd even be here for real. Like, and so my point is, I started driving and I got emotional thinking about it. And so I pulled up to his house and I knocked on the door and I was like, he was like, what's going on with you, man? Like, why are you crying? What's wrong? And so I was just telling him, I was like, bro, like, nothing's wrong. He was like, then why are you crying? I'm like, bro, I'm crying because like, I'm emotional the fact that I thought this whole time that I had nobody. I didn't really fully tell him all this stuff, so hopefully he watches it and he hears this part. But basically what I told him was just, I'm just grateful for everything that you've done for me. But I just feel like I thought that I had nobody all this time. I always thought that. I felt like that. I felt alone because a lot of people who, I guess you could say, are supposed to love me, hurt me. And then we went through a situation, not going to get into all that again. Talked about it like 10 times on here. But we went through something, and through it all, I've always still had him. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing, and it brought emotion. Then I went and shared those emotions with my brother, man.
Right.
And I feel like that, especially as men, we need to normalize that. We need to normalize that it's okay to, you know, like I said one time before, you know, if God didn't want men to cry, he would have took their tear ducts away the moment they could talk.
Yeah.
Because when you're a baby, the only way that you can communicate is through tears and through crying. But once you're able to talk, if he didn't want you to cry no more, he would have took the tear, he would have dried them up, closed them up,
Yeah.
right? But instead, he left them, you know, left them there because just like women have emotions, and girls have emotions, boys and men have emotions as well,
100%.
right? We feel them all the time, but a lot of times we just kind of like suppress them and shake them off and just be like, we'll be all right, we'll face that later. And then it just kind of like just gets back there, builds up, and then we explode. And then, oh, you're psycho. No, I was with you for 5 years, and I've never been able to be vulnerable. Every time, the one time I tried to be vulnerable with you, you literally threw it back in my face, or you told me I was soft, or, you know, oh, we live in a world with a whole bunch of princess men. You know, you say shit like that, like because the man cries, you know, or because he's a human.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in that case, and I'm gonna probably get a lot of people saying something back to me on this, but if that's the case, then shit, women need to stop crying so much. They fought for equality.
Yeah.
So,
No,
stop crying so much.
Yeah,
What if we said that to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that directly to any female, or so don't take it that way, guys. All I'm saying is that we're all human. You know, we're born male or born male or we're born female, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, we're at the beginning or the root of it all. We're all human, and we all have, you know, feelings. We all have emotions. We all have, you know, things that we went through and we're going through, and we all should be just like women can express it, and we're supposed to console them and, you know, comfort them and, you know, encourage them. Well, it goes both ways. When the man is having a bad day, is that's your chance to let him, you know, get off his chest what he has to in whatever way he has to, whether that's, you know, him crying or screaming, you know, sitting in silence. You know, you let him express those emotions. I feel like when you can do that in a relationship, that's going to make the relationship much stronger.
Yeah, 100%.
If you guys can do that in a relationship and like truly mean it, like not just like, and I keep putting like I'm bashing on women, but I'm not at all. It's just how it usually commonly goes. You know, not be one of those women who, when the guy tells you like, you know, man, I'm still not over my mom dying, or, you know, my mom getting cancer, and 3, 4, 5 months later, you're still crying about it. You're still, you know, you're still emotional about it. And then not for you as a woman to be like, to just kind of like discredit his feelings or make him feel like he's a, you know, a wimp or pussy or whatever the case may be, just because he's having emotions, you know, and then throw it back in his face later on. I think that's, if you can not do that, I think that you can actually support each other and be like, okay, you know, thank you for telling me that. You know, what if it's my woman telling me this stuff, thank you for letting me know, so that way I know how to move forward and how to be a
Yeah.
alter my behaviors, so that way I can be more of a support for you. But most of the time that don't happen.
Well,
And
most people can't be. They won't start the healing process and allowing something like that to be let go unless they feel heard. 100%.
Yep.
The same with females, right? Most of the time, females are gonna, are gonna get over things, or they're gonna, heal quicker if they feel heard. If they feel heard and seen, throughout the whatever they're going through. And the same with guys too.
You know what's crazy though? Sometimes, majority of the time, feeling heard or being heard, you're just kind of like being an active listener. You're just kind of like sitting and quietly, right? But then it gets flipped, because you be quiet while she's knitting to you, and don't say nothing. Then she goes, "Oh, so you're just sitting there all quiet. You don't give a shit."
Well, and so what I've learned, right, is that's when you ask, like, do you want my opinion, or do you want my input, or do you want me to just listen?
And I'm glad you said ask, because I think that one thing that a lot of people struggle with is understanding that unsolicited opinions sometimes can be
Detrimental.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can be terrible. Because somebody might not be looking somebody might not necessarily in that moment be looking for advice. That's not the stage that they're in. They're in the venting stage. They're in the, I need to get this out. I need to say this, and then at the end, that's when you can say, like you said, you mind if I give you my opinion? I do this all the time in the gym, because I found out quickly that just because people are in the gym don't mean they want help, or don't mean they want to do it right. And I've corrected people, and I've gotten cussed out. I've gotten, all that. So I do the same thing in the gym. I say, hey, I can, even if the squat or the bench or whatever the case may be was terrible, I'm not going to lead off with that. I let them know, like, hey, good lift, good work. That's usually what I say. I usually don't say good lift because I lie. I say good work. I mean, like, you're actually here trying to work, And I'm like, can I give you some advice on something that will help you out, make it easier for you? Or to see, or ask them, like, I've asked people before, like, why do you bench? Like, because some people are benching to develop, wider pec muscles or whatever the case may be. While other people like myself, I could give a shit. I'm trying to get strong. I'm trying to outbench you. So I asked, like, hey, like, you trying to grow some pecs? Pretty much. And they'll tell me, and then I give my advice, based off of what they say. But I don't even solicit that advice anymore. I try to. I mean, with my immediate family here, I might give them unsolicited advice, but
it's your family. You're the guider. You're supposed to guide them. Yeah, for sure.
But look, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, and just taking advantage of the platform that I'm providing, and just honestly understanding the premise of my platform. And I hope that I can have you back, like I said earlier. I hope I can have you back. I hope that you remain blessed, and I keep praying for you, and Godspeed on your recovery. I hope that when you come back next time, you tell me you're at 3.5 years, or wherever, however long it's going to be.
That's the goal.
Yeah, man. And then I will say this too. I want to give you your flowers on camera, man. I've seen people say, "Hey, I don't drink. Hey, I don't smoke," and then I didn't know all of this about the. So it makes more sense now. But when you first came in, and I remember the question I asked you: do you smoke or drink? Because most of the time at the beginning of the episode, before we start, we usually take a shot together. We cheers and take a shot together. It's like the thing that we've done. This is the first episode I've never done it on,
right.
And this is out of respect for you.
Yeah.
But most people, I've seen people say, like, yeah, no, I don't drink. And they'd be like, why? And I tell them, and then they'd be like, oh, I'll take one.
Yeah.
Or I'll just fake it with a shot glass of water.
Yeah.
No, like you were like just straight up, nope, I don't do it. And that's respectful. And because of that, that's why I respected you as well.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Like, what kind of friend would I be, or what kind of person would I be to say that I'm about mental health, and then, or positivity and uplifting people, and then I got somebody who's a recovering addict, and I sit here and spark up right in front of them, or just keep drinking drinks right in front of them.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't affect me at all, you know what I'm saying, I appreciate the respect. I do, no matter what, and I value that, because other people may not be as strong, as I am right now in my recovery, right? So I respect it.
Yeah. All right, guys, if you guys have made it this far, go ahead and drop a heart in those comments. Like and subscribe to the page. Follow us on Instagram at Minor Emotions the Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok under the same handle. Shoot me a message to minoremocionsthepodcast at gmail.com. Or you can shoot me a text message, no FaceTimes, but just a text message to 702-525-6118. You guys be blessed, and we're out of here. Peace.
Yeah.